Here are 5 questions about rational functions you are probably going to see on your Algebra 2 final. No chit-chat, just math. Let's go. Simplify and state the excluded values. Well, simplify means we're probably going to want to factor this first so we can see what cancels out. And excluded values are numbers that you're not allowed to plug in for x at all. So one of the things I'm looking at is this one on the bottom, the denominator, is leading off with a negative coefficient. I always factor out a -1 for that. So this would become a -1 times a positive x squared. -1 times a negative x gives you the positive 9x right here. This -20 happened when -1 was taken times a positive 20. Then from there, I'm going to factor the top. Once it's factored, go in and look at your excluded values. Do not continue the problem until you get these first. That's just my tip. Because when you cancel something out, you'll lose one of the excluded values. You do not want this denominator to ever equal 0, which means x minus 5 can't equal 0, and x minus 4 can't equal 0, which means x can't be 5 and x can't be 4. That's part of your answer. Now you can go back to simplifying. The x minus 5s are going to cancel out, and what's left is your final answer that is simplified. We're going to simplify again. So again, I want to do some factoring. Yeah, on the bottom, this 30n cubed minus 42n squared, I can pull out a 6n squared from both of those. Instead of dividing, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. Now this top here, 7 minus 5n, looks very similar to this. If I want it to match the bottom so I can cancel it, I'm going to factor out a -1. -1 times 5n is -5n. -1 times -7 is +7. But once I did that, I can now cancel that factor. So what I'm left with, -1 over 6n squared times 63n. I can still do some canceling here. That n cancels with an n here that's just represented by n squared. Now what goes into 6 and 63? 6 doesn't go into 63, but 3 does. 3 goes into 6 2 times, and 3 goes into 63 21 times. Multiply straight across. -21 over 2n, put a box on it. We are done. Again, we are simplifying, but this is a subtraction problem. So I'm going to need to have common denominators, and I'm going to use a trick from middle school. I'm going to multiply this numerator times that denominator. I'm going to multiply this denominator times that numerator. And then you multiply the denominators together. That's a fast way of doing adding and subtracting of fractions, which works nice in algebra. I can cancel this 2. This one has a factor of 2. This has a factor of 2, and this has a factor of 2. Instead of rewriting it and pulling the 2 out in front, I'm just going to cancel them. I know those 2 will cancel, and if I divide 6 by 2, I'm left with a 3. Rewrite what I'm left with. Is there anything I can cancel else? No. Don't touch the x minus 5s. This isn't a factor of this guy, so you can't do that. It has to be in all 3. So I'm just going to combine and see where I'm at. I end up with this, which has a middle term here. So let's finish. And there we go. There's nothing else that can be done. I know that this cannot be factored because of where it came from, so put a box on it. That was question 3. If you are cramming last minute, this is part of a series covering the entire exam. The full playlist is in the description. Complex fractions. Yeah, they certainly are. Okay, I'm going to work with this denominator first because this is 2 things being subtracted like the problem we just did. X plus 1 times x plus 1 is x plus 1 squared. This 4 times this 4x is -4x times 4. And then I multiply the denominators together, which would be 4 times x plus 1. Simplifying that. And I'm not going to multiply the x plus 1 squared because I still have my fingers crossed that I'll be able to do some canceling on this. Maybe not right now because the 16x doesn't have an x plus 1 factor. All right, so let's put this back together, recopying that numerator. This is basically just a fraction being divided by another fraction, which means we are going to multiply by the reciprocal. So I just recopy the numerator, change division to multiplication, and then flip that bottom over. There, I can do this, but I can't do anything with the x plus 1 squared. Let's multiply across and just carry all that around. There's nothing else I can factor. Put a box on it. So first off that I notice, I actually have a common denominator here. So I just added the numerators together over that same common denominator. Now I'm going to rewrite the x minus 2 over 1. There's more than one way to do all these, but I'm going with a cross multiplication at this point, so I can just get rid of these fractions. So I'm going to take x minus 2 times x plus 5, and that equals 1 times this, which is -x squared plus x. I'm going to multiply these 2 binomials out. X squared plus 3x minus 10 equals -x squared plus x plus 2. I am going to try to get a 0 over here because I'm trying to solve for x and you want to have a 0 on one side. So I'm going to add the x squared to both sides, and to save time and room, I am going to do this all in one line. So I want a 0 over here. So I've got to subtract the x from both sides, and I've got to subtract that 2 from both sides. And what I end up with is 2x squared plus 2x minus 12 equals 0. Now I can pull a 2 out of everything, so I'm going to do that. X plus 3 times x minus 2. Once it's factored, set each thing equal to 0, and you solve and you end up with x equals negative 3 or x equals 2. Now this thing with extraneous solutions means extra solutions, something that isn't going to work. Excluded value is with the number you can't put in here. We know we can't put in a negative 5, but this is different. You might come up with an answer and you think they're both good, but one of them is going to make everything blow up. Check on your own, and it turns out they're both fine. We're done. Rationals are done. So you're one step closer to passing your final exam in Algebra 2. If you need to master radicals next, that video is waiting for you right here. Now go crush your final.